Hey fam, welcome back. So today we're going to be going over Bitcoin and the Bitcoin metrics. So with that being said, let's get it. All right. So why are we talking about Bitcoin right now? Well, I think it's a good time at this point to be discussing Bitcoin for a few different reasons. So the first reason is we're on the cusp of Fed rate cuts. Okay, we didn't get one at this last FOMC meeting. That was kind of to be expected. It's whatever. It's just a whole bunch of garbage from the Fed again. No surprise there, right? And the market's even not expecting a rate cut next month, but perhaps in July. So the point I want to make about the rate cuts is this. Q1 hasn't exactly been great for crypto, but QT could be absolutely stellar. The Fed cuts lining up with Bitcoin and the final blow off top for the altcoins going into the end of the year. That could absolutely happen. And that actually does line up with the previous cycle peak. So if you notice, we kind of rocketed here in Q1, right? But we were already going up into the end of the year of 2023, and then we kind of cooled off. And then towards the end of 2024, we went up again. So the point I want to make here is right around the middle of the year, crypto theoretically doesn't really do much of anything. So you can see, and once again, I'm trying to make a point here, okay? So you can see we started moving up in right around July, which we're coming on July, right? And the crypto market just blasted off to the moon basically throughout the end of the year, right? We hit that March timeframe, peaked out. And then for roughly about the middle 6 months of the year, so right between, I'd say about April, or maybe not quite 6 months, April to September, somewhere in there, we didn't really do a whole lot. Okay, we had this little leg up, but then we got the final move here right towards the end of the year, and that's the point I want to make. Okay, so if the Fed is going to cut rates into the end of the year, that would basically add fuel to the fire to send the crypto rally even higher than where it could go even without that. And I want to make a side note here, and that is that even if the Fed is not coming out publicly and saying, oh yeah, guys, we're going to cut rates, we're going to do QE, even if they're not saying that, right? Or even if they're not cutting rates, that doesn't necessarily mean that they're not providing some kind of shadow QE, okay? There's this term in the markets known as shadow QE, where the Fed essentially has other means of propping up the markets, as it were, and providing liquidity to the markets and to the economy in general. Like, what was it? They have like some kind of credit lending branch that they can use for. I'm gonna have to look this up. I forget the finite details, but there's certain programs. I don't know if they're still open, but they used them back during the pandemic to try to help businesses. That was not necessarily QE per se, like public facing, but it was more behind the scenes, kind of shadowy QE type stuff. And they could still be doing that behind the scenes, even if they're not going to cut rates. So there's that. Okay. Second reason is the trade deals, right? Everybody's bullish on the trade deals. We all know that Trump is well, I'm not going to say Trump specifically, but the Trump administration, we all know that the Trump administration is made up of a lot of people that understand finance and the monetary aspect of the economy and the U.S. extremely well, right? So these guys, obviously, they want the markets to go up. I'm only speculating here. I can't say this as a statement of fact. I'm speculating when I say that they probably have long positions that they probably want to see go to the moon, right? And they're going to want to load those up before these moves actually take place. So with that being said, when you got somebody that comes out and says, oh, you should, anybody that buys stock will do really well and all this kind of stuff, you hear this kind of rhetoric. Obviously, that's going to be very bullish for crypto and for stocks too, right? So there's that. There's the trade deal talks, which is obviously very bullish. Inflation coming down is very bullish for Bitcoin, because that means that if inflation is coming down, then the Fed funds rate's likely to come down faster. And the faster the Fed funds rate comes down, the faster that money will come out of money market funds and high yield savings back into risk on assets, which is extremely bullish for crypto and extremely bearish for the dollar index. Okay. Plus, we also have the cycle timing, right? We should still have about 6 to 7 months if the cycle timing remains true and we don't get, the whole spot gold thing where gold went up 7 years straight after the first ETF came out. And we see a historical repeat of that with Bitcoin. In that case, 2026 would not be a bear market, but need to see some evidence of that. So Anyways, let's go ahead and talk about Bitcoin real quick before I get too deep into that. So, crypto search terms here on the 5-year Google Trends does appear to be slightly curling back up. Perhaps this could be the bottom and we might be gaining some traction here. Again, when we get that curling up, especially at a basing formation, this is right around the same level we based at before. That could be that crypto is about to start ripping to the moon from this point. No guarantees, but I mean, it's pretty low at this point. So a very good time to buy, in my opinion. Again, not financial advice, just my opinion. So the Bitcoin search term, we're below basically 25 at this point. I mean, we've seen some peaks along the way, but then again, Bitcoin is kind of stair-stepping to new all-time highs this cycle, very similar to 2017. So it's not just going straight to the moon. That's actually a good thing, in my opinion, because it makes the crypto cycle last longer. Whereas in 2021, we had to have a 55% correction in the middle of the bull run because it was getting too aggressive to the upside. Again, the markets are very elastic. When they go up more aggressively, they're likely to come down more aggressively. And the inverse is true, right? We want to see kind of a stair step and a gradual up and to the right, but diagonally, not just straight up. You know what I mean? So that way it lasts a lot longer. And people have time to get in and out of their positions and think about it instead of just, it's here and then all of a sudden it's gone, right? And the opportunity's missed because it came and went so fast. But maybe some people like it like that. So fear and greed here. We're just now tapping into the greed territory. Again, we usually spend months in either extreme, and we're just now entering into greed. So it could be that we'll be in the greed territory in crypto for the next few months, maybe even for the next 6 to 7 months. That's always possible. So keep that in mind. MVRV started to tick back up too. That's very bullish. But again, we're nowhere near a peak here, right? Every time we got into these boxes at the top here, that was the cycle top at that time. And we have not seen a peak anywhere close to 7 to 10 on this. So still very cheap on Bitcoin from that metric. Bitcoin rainbow charts, so we're still kind of, we're going up, but not straight up. You can see how 2017 had like 4 or 5 peaks here after the bear market lows, right? So we are, like I said before, we're stair stepping up in this market. It doesn't look as extreme as 2017 because it's 2017 was different, right? Bitcoin went from 200 to 20,000. At this point, can Bitcoin go from, let's see, where was the bear market low? I think 16,000 to 1.6 million in this cycle. Probably not. I would still say the peak is somewhere around maybe 200 to 250,000. But the fact that it's ticking back up here is definitely a good sign, in my opinion. And we went from, just so y'all know, I don't know if you noticed this, but we went from accumulate down to buy. So that is kind of a pullback potentially to be bought there. Newpol is pretty much fair value. It's not cheap, but it's not expensive. Again, we're looking for this to eventually get into the euphoria greed. And once we see that, that may kind of be the signal that maybe the top is in. Haven't seen that yet. Pi cycle top indicator. So we're back above the yellow EMA here. Again, the EMAs range between, at this point, 103,000 to 157,700, which actually does line up with the Fibonacci's. So let me take a look at the Fibonacci's real quick and try to get a gauge on where that level is likely at. So looking at roughly about 160,000, you can see that this red Fibonacci is just right above that, 165,000. So there is some correlation there. And just understand that 157,000 is where the green EMA is. It needs to get above the green EMA based on historical performance here to actually get the final leg up. And we have not even gotten to the green EMA yet. So I hear a lot of people in the crypto space talking about, 110, 120,000 is going to be the cycle top. You know what? To be honest, I'm really not convinced that that's the case. I think people are probably undershooting this crypto bull market. Again, think about it like this. The crypto bull market has been getting suppressed for basically the first 6 months of 2025. That we should have already had the bull run and, a crazy, stupid alt season at this point, but we have not had it yet. And like I told you guys before, the more that something is suppressed in these markets, the more likely it is to explode to the upside. Okay. You can think about it like, let's say like maybe a bottle of soda or wine or something put under pressure, right? If you shake it enough, eventually the thing's going to explode and the top's going to come off, and this is going to be some massive upside, right? Like a volcano can only stay dormant for so long before eventually it has to explode to the upside. So the more pressure these people try to put down on the markets, the more aggressive the move is going to be when it happens to the upside. That's the point I want to make here. So the macro Fibonacci's retracement from the previous cycle high to the previous cycle low, again from 2021 to the bottom in 2022, that's what we're measuring here on the fibs. The top level is still 240,000. Okay. So do I think it's going to top out at 110 to 120? Probably not. I mean, even a double from this level right here at 74,000 is 150,000. So keep that in mind. Okay, M2 money supply. All right, so this is the global, basically global QE from all these central banks around the world, or the major ones that are at least put in this metric. You can see this one is moving up again. Every time that happens, what happens? Bitcoin moves up, right? There may be a slight delay between Bitcoin moving up and the M2 money supply. So it's possible that M2 moves up first, and then we see Bitcoin start to rip after that, right? So you see M2 back here in 2019 going up, but Bitcoin was going down, right? So at some point, Bitcoin started to catch on and then eventually rip to the moon. So I'm expecting something similar here. And again, the whole green peak theory, right? When you get a big green peak, or I should say when they start out small, they tend to get bigger, right? And bigger and bigger. So we might be seeing the third larger peak here on the little green hills you see right there. Okay, so app search term in terms of crypto, I actually have not looked at this yet. So we got Cash App in the top 20, but Cash App's not really known for sorry about that. So Cash App's not really known for crypto per se. I mean, you can do Bitcoin on there as far as I know, but it's not really like a crypto app or crypto exchange. So there is that. And it does not appear that any of these crypto exchanges are in the top hundreds. So yeah, none of these are in the top 100. I mean, I keep going down. I'm not even seeing them. No Coinbase, no Gemini, no Kraken, Binance, none of that stuff. We're not seeing any of that here. Again, like I told y'all before, top 10, top 20, we start seeing those in there on a frequent basis. That could signal some kind of major peak or the final blow off top. That's always possible. Okay, so now going back to Bitcoin. So we did get a break of this trend line. It's a little difficult to see, but it is there. So you can see the trend line, right? We were looking for a breakout of this. We did end up getting one last time we saw this, right? We got a breakout of the RSI, and boom, what happened with Bitcoin? It also broke out, and we see something very similar here. I could actually go back even further and show you guys even more of these. And again, this is a pretty common thing that we typically look at for kind of more major timeframes here. So yeah, this one's kind of hard to do, but see if maybe I can get a line drawn here. So line drawn here, and then a line drawn here. Again, it's not exact, but you can see once we got a break of the trend line, we shortly thereafter got a break of the trend line on the actual price action as well, and Bitcoin went up from there. So some very strong similarities here. Again, the RSI on the weekly is above the 50. That's bullish because anything above the 50 on the RSI is bull territory. We are still above the 0 level on the MACD. That is bull territory. And we're also getting a golden cross right now with potentially the first week of green on the histogram. So that's also very bullish. And we also got a break of this trend line. So everything looks good in my opinion. Like I told y'all before, if we get a break at this trend line, the likelihood is very, very high. We're going back to all-time highs. Again, we got to get at least one candle close above 110,000. I would like to see a candle like this or like this closing above the previous wick high up there to fully convince me this thing is going absolutely AWOL to the upside. Okay, so last couple of things here is that we are still above the monthly trend line. Okay, so that's very bullish, and obviously we had a nice strong bounce off of it. We're pushing towards highs. That's to be noted here. So we are not at 90 to 95 on the RSI, not even close. We're actually still not even at 70 at this point. So that tells me likely there could be many, many months still of a potential upside here for Bitcoin. And again, it's not really that uncommon for Bitcoin to go up for 4, 5, 6, 7 months straight. You can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 here, right? 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. Even back here in 2021, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You got your 2019 here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? And then 2017 was even more crazy. So 1, 2, 3 at the final peak. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, right? You kind of get the idea, right? We should see probably at least 3, 4 months of green, maybe before getting another major alt season is kind of what I'm thinking here. So, and on the monthly time frame, in 21 days, assuming that we close above this 102,500, that would actually be all-time highs on the monthly time frame as well. So last thing I want to look at here is the Bitcoin dominance. So we could take a look at the totals, total 1, 2, and 3, but we're not going to do that in this video. If we notice anything that seems worth noting, we'll post it to you on X. But anyways, so the Bitcoin dominance, this thing has been a bit tricky this cycle. I won't lie to y'all. Thought that this breakdown here and potentially even this diamond pattern was it. And wouldn't you know it, right? The smart money fooled us once again. Thought that would likely be it. Probably not. It's possible maybe that this red candle right here could be the start of it. That remains to be seen. I mean, we did just get overbought on the RSI here on the weekly time frame on Bitcoin dominance. Last time we saw that, it did lead to kind of a little mini alt season. But I'm not looking really for the mini one. I want to see the big one, right? The 10, 20, 30, 50 X's. So if we get a breakdown, a firm breakdown below this, again, this rising wedge and below the EMAs, that could really truly be it at that point. So anyways, hope you all enjoyed this content. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see y'all later. Peace.